Well, we are here. Flex Network is live. We're doing our thing. I got a special guest for you guys. No Matt today, but I got my good buddy. I call him Jay, but Jonathan Cason. You know, he lives here in the Dallas Fort Worth area with me. Um, we see each other. I don't know, pretty often. But thank you for joining us. We are pretty excited to have guests that could talk kind of like wide variety of topics. But today we're going to be focusing on some NFL topics, and we're gonna get going on that. So, Jay, what's up, man? Come say hi to the people so they can hear your voice.
What's up?
Oh, with the Sooners music,
How we
huh?
doing? Like good
Okay.
old JR, baby. Come on. Come on. You're back to back to back to back Big 12 champions. And you're back to back Heisman and soon to be back with Jalen. And back again with Spencer Rattler. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
All
Speed
right.
D.
All right. So we got we got my buddy Jay here, and I kind of mentioned before Jay's a diehard Oklahoma Sooners fan. Um he's now a diehard Cleveland Browns fan. He was kind of up in the air with what team he was rooting for. He didn't really have like an NFL team that he pulled for. He generally kind of cheered for Oklahoma players because, like I said, he's a diehard Sooners fan. And I remember asking him a couple years ago, I'm like, man, who are you going to root for next year? You know, Baker's going to the NFL. And, you know, we didn't know that Baker was going to go number one overall, but we were
I
pretty
mean,
sure
you
that he was
didn't,
going. Yeah, I mean,
but
your homerism aside, but we didn't know that he was going to go number one overall. It was a shock to everyone. There was a chance that he could have, and I would, you know, if you would have asked me before the draft, would I have had any complaints about it? Absolutely not. I just didn't want Josh Rosen going number one, and now that's kind of coming to fruition why he didn't go number one. But you know, we look at it, and I said, man, Jay, who are you gonna like? Who's gonna be your team? And you straight up told me whoever Baker gets drafted by, that is going to
straight
be my
up.
favorite team. And I remember kind of coming right back at you and being like, dude, what if it's the Jets? And you straight up said, I guess I'm a Jets fan then because I'm Team Baker all the way.
That's it, man. I plan on naming my child, well, probably not Baker, but Reagan, because that's Baker Reagan Mayfield. So
Oh,
my
okay. Here we go.
Reagan Lee Mayfield. So it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, so let's let I want to kind of like for the people who don't really know you, I just want to give them a chance to get to know you a little bit. Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, man. So I have a company called Cason Creative Media, and on Facebook's Cason Creative, and then Instagram Cason Creative Media. There is another one that says Cason Creative, but that one got hacked, so I had to say see ya. So had to redo everything. So Cason Creative Media on Instagram, Cason Creative on Facebook, and then just Jonathan Reed Cason is my personal page, man. So excited to be here, man. Flex Network,
Awesome.
let's go. Let's
Yeah,
do
dude,
it.
we're doing our thing here. So,
This is awesome.
yeah,
I feel
so
like I'm on first take right now. You know,
yeah, without I wouldn't say I have the
no,
vocabulary of Stephen A. Smith or
undisputed. Then
the
you could be Skip
ugh, it's,
as long as you're not calling.
no, dude, I'm
Us
hard
Browns
passing on
fans
all
don't
of
like calling. We're not a fan of Cowherd.
whatever. But anyway, so we're gonna get into some NFL talk here in a minute, but I just kind of wanted to like give anyone who's listening a chance to kind of know who you are. You know, maybe you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you want to know a little bit about what he does. He said Case on Creative Media. For my understanding is Jay has been doing photography, and do you do a little bit of video, a little bit of film, that type of stuff also?
Yeah, man. So I've been doing Caseline Creative Media for about 4.5, 5 years now, and started out just doing video. I've been doing video at a church for about 6 years, and then just branched off, started my own thing, and then just kind of thinking, when you're doing video, you're only doing a wedding, and that's pretty much it. Well, not everyone's getting married every week, and so I had to kind of branch out and start doing more of the photography thing. So I've been doing that, and business has been great. And we just got published in a Voyage magazine for Dallas, voyagedallas.com. So pretty exciting just for everything that's going on right now, and we're just rocking and rolling, man.
So, you mentioned that not everyone's getting married every weekend or whatever. So, do you obviously like weddings and like like maybe gender reveals or baby announcements or any of that type of stuff is probably kind of where you first started out, but where are you at now? I mean, I've seen some stuff of some football games. I've seen some stuff of you at concerts and stuff like that. So kind of talk to us about that.
Yeah, man, it's been really good. It started out just doing some, gender reveals, weddings was kind of the big thing, and then kind of branched out more to. I have one of the people that I work for. His name's Trey Chapman. You can follow him on Trey's Chowdown, but he's one of the most renowned food critics in Texas. And so I go with him a lot to all these different exclusive places. Have been able to do Fort Worth Food and Wine Festival, which is seen by thousands of people. Whiskey Myers, country band. Been done some stuff for Randy Rogers this past weekend, Co Wetzel. So Billy Bob's, all that stuff. So I've been able to do a lot of good stuff like that. And for different football teams, Central High School, I was able to run all their social media and their videos and things like that. So we pretty much do everything from births to funerals, man, and everything in between. So we're just kind of going and doing whoever needs some love, we're there for them.
Right, that's cool. So, I was at work yesterday and I hopped on social media for a little bit and I saw that you had a article written about you. In I forget the name of the newspaper. Can you say the name of the newspaper real quick?
Yeah, man. So it's voyagedallas.com, VOYAGE Dallas.com. And yeah, they interviewed me a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of kept it on their wraps. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I got interviewed, and then I'd not be chosen. And so I was able to get that email that I'd been chosen. And yeah, man, it's just a little bit about me and how I got started, and where we're at now. And it's got a few shots in there and stuff like that. So it's just a huge blessing, and I'm super excited just to have that opportunity to do that.
Awesome. So I guess I would be kicking myself if I didn't ask you this question, most obvious question,
Yeah.
which is why photography, why media? Like, why is this your passion? How did it become your passion?
Yeah, man. So it started out, I used to hate photos. And it's crazy because when you look at this, it's like Ric Flair and myself were the most gorgeous men on planet Earth. But I used to hate taking them. And then I kind of just started. My mom was a single parent. And so I had to kind of find other ways to get, emotions and creative juices out. And so I started little disposable Kodak, pictures, and I started doing that and just started liking it. And when I got to middle school, it's just kind of anytime we would go to any event or concert, I would bring a camera and take pictures, and it kind of just started going off that way. And then when my mom, when she passed away, past my senior year of high school, I had lost all the photos I'd ever taken. They were in a bin, a basket, and I had a bunch of family members coming in, and it just got lost and it was gone. And so I had always made a point. I was like, man, I want to do this. Like, I love media, I love movies, I love all that stuff that has to do with anything with media. And so I just kind of was kicking myself and finally just made the jump and said, I want to do it. I think that the main thing for me is that was such a big way for me to capture moments, and with my mom or with other people, and so I think that's the main driving force of why I do. And I have a person that works with me. Her name's Melissa Porter, and she's phenomenal. Does all of the design and the color schemes, and sometimes does all the emails, and she's the best. And so I think for both of us, our heart is really just to show people's, you know, everything has a love story, and our main thing is wanting to show the love that people have for each other and just portray that through a lens. So
Right. So, what is your everyone has things about their job that they enjoy the most, and then things that they maybe not enjoy as much. And I guess it's different because like your passion, like this is your passion. And
yeah.
so one of the things, the question I have is, what is your favorite part of your like I guess do you like taking shots of like people celebrating new life events like births and marriages and stuff like that, or do you prefer like sports and activity and stuff like that? Like, which one's your favorite?
Yeah, man. I mean, really it's as far as video, I would say my favorite part is the send off, when they're leaving. You could really first of all see who their real friends are, because their real friends are the last ones there at 12:30 at night with, sparklers like they're six.
Right.
But just seeing like the love and all that as they leave and know that they're about to start their lives together. And for photos, it's the couples and the families and seeing the kids being genuinely happy to be with mom, hugging mom's leg, and or the dads being with their families, and showing that they get love on other days except for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and being able to capture that moment for them that they can put on their desk, their wall, and just kind of visualizing what they're going to do with that shot.
Yeah, that's so cool. That kind of reminds me of something. I've always thought um, in this different. You and I, we both go to church. We're both Christians, and
Right.
so we the church that I grew up in, we had a lady that did like sign language,
Oh
and,
man.
and so I was friends with her. And one of the things that she would always talk about is how like when pastors would do altar calls and things of that nature, that she was up there on the stage with the pastor, because normally it's just like one or two members of the band, the pastor doing the altar call, and then it was her. And she would say that as she is doing sign language, she was one of the people that got to see the looks on people's faces, when
Mm.
they're truly being honest with themselves, and when they're truly need prayer about something. She's like, you read a lot of emotion off of people's faces. And I think kind of what you're talking about is, with that, like you said, the send off, you are reading a lot of emotion off of people's faces at the same time. And do you kind of pull some of your creativity off of the emotions that you're sensing from people?
Well, I think a lot of it, for me, it's great because I can kind of get a vibe of where people are at, and whether they're just exhausted and they don't want to know more, and but
Right.
then there's some that, I get excited when, they're excited and when they are just ready to get to the next step, and so a lot of the even times when we've been there for 10 hours and it's just like, look, we've captured literally everything that can a fly, we've gotten a video of it, like let's just go. And it's one of those where you see how excited and how in love and how just lost they are in each other, you're like, man, I don't want to miss anything. And so that's a driving force for us.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, like I said, you could find them on social media. Give your social media one more time, and then we'll
Yeah,
kind
man.
of transition in.
Facebook's going to be Kason Creative, or Jonathan Reed, REED, Kason, CASSON, on Facebook, and then on Instagram is Kason Creative Media.
Awesome, awesome. So what do you say we get into a little bit of football? There's
Let's do it.
I got a couple of topics here, but one thing I just wanted to say is that New Day shirt is pretty
Come on,
nice.
baby. Come on, right? Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's looking pretty nice right
I
there.
got this whenever WrestleMania came to town a few years ago, and I was like, I got to get it. Like it was either that or a box of Bootios, and I was like, I'm a diabetic, I'll get the shirt. So so I
Yeah,
was like, why not?
let's play it safe
So
here.
yeah,
Um,
man.
so Man, that's crazy. So let's talk about. I want to start with Oklahoma.
Always,
So
always.
when we start with Oklahoma, I just want to say, when is the Big 12 going to offer Oklahoma any type of competition? Every year we hear this conversation about how Texas is back. And for the past few years, you heard about West Virginia. You know, they had that air raid offense. It could put up a lot of points, and you know they gave Oklahoma a respectable fight from an offensive standpoint for a little while. But you know,
Right.
Oklahoma kind of proved to be a little too powerful for them because they were a well-rounded team instead of just being heavy on one side. Um,
Exactly.
so you know, from a Big 12 standpoint, like when is Oklahoma going to be challenged? And I would say this trying to turn off your homerism a little bit and just kind of come at it from you can come at it from a homer angle, but also give me kind of like a realist type of answer.
Yeah, man. You know, to say it and not let people get so crazy. I really feel that Texas is kind of they're on that turn. They're not back by any means, like Kansas. That's it. You're not back.
Right.
But Maryland, you're not back. But I think they are making strides to kind of turn. And I think the good thing for them is that, so are we. We're testing out a whole new defense this year. So thankfully, Washington State appreciate you, you know, getting Coach
All
Grinch
day,
and
all day.
Troy Manning and Speed D and all that. So just, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if we were able to win the Big 12 with a horrible defense, imagine if we were half better. Like that's just ball game. And so for us to be able to have such a great recruiting class and then just we don't lose people on offense, we just reload. It's like people are like, "Oh, you lost Kyler," and it's like, "Yeah, well, we have Jalen, we have Tanner Mordecai, and we have Spencer Rattler." Next question. "Oh, you don't have running back. We have Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon." "Oh, what a wide receiver? You lost, Hollywood Brown. We have CeeDee Lamb, and we have 3 5-star wide receivers coming in." Next question. It's
So
like,
that's funny because Oklahoma has now kind of like put themselves into the position of kind of the place where Alabama has been for a lot of years, which is when it comes to recruiting, it's like we only recruit 5-star players.
yeah.
If you're not a 5-star player, we're not interested. Just because we have so many kids that want to come to our football program, like, and it sounds kind of like arrogant to say that, like if you're an Alabama or Oklahoma fan, but like sometimes the truth is just the truth. And
Hmm.
like I'm a Washington State fan, so I know we're kind of always gonna like our coaches are gonna be our strong point. We're not gonna put a whole lot of kids through to the NFL, and I
Right.
get that. But one of the things that like is crazy about Oklahoma and Alabama is like even their kickers and punters are 5-star. Like at a position
Austin
where
Seibert, like, come
yeah,
on, man.
yeah,
He's legit.
at a position where you don't necessarily need 5 stars, for a kicker or a punter, you could get by with a 3-star guy and save some scholarship money and give it to somebody else. But everyone else is 5-star. There's backups. There's backup receivers, backup quarterbacks, backup running backs that are all 5 stars that are just waiting their turn.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the crazy thing is a lot of people think they see, all these people, and it's great. Obviously, we recruit well. I mean, it's a blue chip program, but a lot of these people that come in are, we have some 5 stars, but we have some that are 3 and 4. It's just a matter of your coaching. Like that's the other thing I was saying with Texas earlier. Like Texas fans will tell you, like, "Oh, we're number one in recruiting." Like, hey, that's great, but if you can't coach them up, then what are you going to do? Like, what's the point? You're essentially the Cowboys. "Oh well, hey
Oh my
man,
God.
we got this player and this player." Yeah, but if you're Coach Clapp, what are you gonna do? Like if you're
Yeah.
not gonna coach him up, then what's the point? You're just playing to get knocked out. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, true. So, in I'll tell you this just straight up. I told you 2 years ago, no, 3 years ago, when Baker first went to the Heisman.
When he finished second.
what was it? Who won? Oh, when Lamar Jackson won and Baker
Yeah,
was second, right? Yeah. So I remember we were at church and I told you that Sunday. I said, you know what? I think I like Baker now.
I'm telling you, man. And people that don't like him, they say that because he's not their quarterback. But I guarantee you that if your quarterback's name isn't Luck, Brady, Mahomes, or Wilson, like I guarantee you'd be like, we give Baker a look. If not
Yeah.
a look, he'd start. Like if you're true with yourself, that's or Breeze, sorry, obviously Drew's. Which
Yeah.
I don't know why he's not put in the GOAT conversation, but that's a
Hey,
different
hey,
show.
but we will touch on that a little bit later. But so I'll just tell you that I'm not a fan of Jalen Hurts. I think that if Oklahoma finds a way to use him that highlight his strengths and kind of don't focus on his weaknesses as much, I think the places where Alabama got into trouble was where there would be times where they would allow him to kind of just be his normal athletic self and just be an athlete, and those are times when I felt like they were very successful. Um, and then there's times where they're like, no, you need to drop back and be like a Tom Brady-esque pocket passer. Jalen Hurts isn't that great of a passer.
Hmm.
So asking him to do something like that is just not it's not realistic. It's not playing to his strengths. And so 9 times out of 10 if you ask him to do things like that, he's going to fail. But Oklahoma seems like a good spot for him to be because if you have 5-star players running, open all over the place, like anyone can throw to a wide open guy for the most part, so
Right.
it's like and that's the thing. It's like with the Alabamas and Clemson and Oklahoma and all that, you're going to have your guys that are going to be running wide open. So as long as he can make the proper reads, I feel like he's going to be able to do that. But that being said, do you see Oklahoma landing in a college football playoff scenario again?
I do. I think I mean being real with it, I honestly feel that our schedule is going to start out, I wouldn't say tough, but a good test. I mean, with Houston and with Dana coming down from West Virginia, thinking, "Oh, I don't have to play Oklahoma." Who's the first game for Houston? Oklahoma, and he's like, "God, can't get away from him." So luckily, it's at home, And then I think the UCLA game being in UCLA, I think that's going to be, I got to give Chip something, but I think, you know, that's going to be a real good test of our defense right there. Texas Tech, luckily it's at home. Texas is always, I mean, both teams could be horrible, and that game just looked like the championship game. So, that's always, and then the potential of even playing them again back in Arlington again. So, this is going to, in Kansas, will be Kansas. I don't care who Les Miles gets. I don't care how many times Rick Ross has a concert. Kansas is not going to be a good football team. I'm sorry. So, I think they will be back in at number 4 spot. It just depends on if Clemson is going to be there or Alabama.
Right. Speaking, you kind of mentioned Houston earlier. Washington State plays Houston this year, and
Oh, do you really?
yeah, so I'm really trying to convince my wife to let me go to that game, and we'll see what happens. But
Let them do it, Joe.
yeah, for real. So let's move on from there. We kind of talked about that, but I agree with you. I think for the most part, it doesn't seem like Oklahoma is really going to be challenged a whole lot from a Big 12 standpoint. Um, Texas played them. What Texas beat you guys last year in the regular season, and then you beat them in the finale in the Big 12 championship, right?
Right. Yeah, they beat
Yeah.
us in Dallas, and then we righted that ship in the championship.
Right. So I look at it like Texas is the only real competition to you guys. We'll see how far Texas has come once the season starts, obviously. Um, so one of the other things I wanted to talk about, dude, so we're gonna kind of transition. We're gonna go from Oklahoma just straight into the Browns. So, in your opinion, this is kind of a loaded question. It's stupid. I kind of know what you're gonna say, but how how good is Baker Mayfield? Like, I'm telling you that I kind of did my homework on him a little bit, right? So last
Yeah.
year he seemed very hesitant at times, but then there was times where you're like, oh man, that dude's a straight assassin, you know.
Yeah.
So his biggest critique right now, obviously, people say that he's easily one of the most accurate passers in the NFL, which he is. He's awesome with accuracy. But one of his critiques is he was 1-5 against teams with winning records last year. Do you think that is a Baker Mayfield thing, or do you think that is a Cleveland Browns thing?
You know, I think honestly, I think that's a team thing. I think when you lose your coach and coordinators and have to kind of rebuild week 4, I think that's kind of I mean, you got to think, I mean, they finished the season 7-5, you know, so I mean, with the ties, or 7-6, sorry, with the ties. So it's still positive.
How many ties did they have? They have 2 ties?
They had they had the 1 tie. Sorry. So
okay.
yeah. So what's math? What was it?
So it would have to. So it's a 16 game season. So it would have had to been 7-8-1.
7-8-1. Yeah. So looking at that, Baker came in down 14, and at like 2 minutes left in the half, and then won the game. And then people were still like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like, what are you saying? I think the whole Hard Knocks thing, I loved it as a fan because it's hard to get up to Berea, Ohio, and so for me to be able to see inside, I think that's like phenomenal. But I think this year you have I mean, the good thing with Freddie Kitchens, people are saying Freddie, well, he's a rookie coach and this and that. He's a rookie coach, but his assistants were all head coaches. And so if you're going to do that as a first year coach, you're going to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. You don't have to worry about them. You let them coach. It's in their title. It's in their job description. And you just do your job. And I think with Baker's relationship with Freddie is just when you have a quarterback, who's your head coach, that relationship that just said, hey, go out there and sling it. I'm not going to try to make you something you're not. And he goes out there and he plays with a chip. And last year was barely the cusp of what I think this year he'll have a 78 completion percentage this year.
That's a pretty high completion percentage.
Well, I was going to say 100, but I want it to be, you said not to be Homer. So
yeah,
this isn't Madden,
Yeah, for real. So, I guess my overall opinion on Baker is I feel like, like you said earlier, if he's not on your team, there's probably a pretty good chance that you don't think he's very good.
Right.
And the best thing I can refer it to is kind of like the Richard Sherman effect. If Richard Sherman's your corner, you love him. If he's not your corner, you hate him.
Exactly.
If Cam Newton's your quarterback, you love him. If he's not your quarterback, you hate him. Things like that. And so he's not my quarterback, but I also don't hate him. I think that he a lot of times gets too much shine for some of the things the Browns do. I think he's very good, but he is still on his way up. He's still learning.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he's got some time to grow. I would say 3 years from now, he should be in the top 8 quarterbacks in the league, if not even higher than that. Conversation. And so, as we transition into this next season, his sophomore campaign in the NFL, I think we'll see him take a step. I mean, the Browns kind of have to. They're in a position where they traded and they got Odell, and so Odell's going to be like the camp darling. They're going to see Baker Mayfield hitting him deep passes down the sidelines, and
well, that's all it's been. On social media. It's and even for me, I love seeing it. Obviously, like he threw one pass across the middle in the end zone today, and Odell just Odell'd it. And I was just like, that's great. And then there's another where he caught it when I was like, well, Big threw it behind him. I was like, okay, I get it, but come on, let's get this timing down, because that's a pick. So I think finally he's at OTAs. That's good. That's there will be a story for everything. If he trips, Cleveland needs to work on their foundation. That's just what people do. But I think I mean, obviously playoff. If anything, if we don't make the playoffs this year, I think that we got to really look at that locker room and the culture itself, because we got all the pieces this year to do it.
Dude, so it's a letdown. If the Cleveland Browns don't at least make the playoffs this year, it is a letdown season.
100%. 100%.
There's a lot of people that kind of just like to throw out, oh, they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, just because. I mean, if you're just looking at the team on paper, you're like, good.
Oh, it's filthy.
They got a lot of ballers, you know.
It's like you're looking at it. If it's Madden and you turned off you turned on forced trades, like that's what it looks like on paper. But if they go out there and they finish the season 8-8, it'd be like, okay, what's happening here? You didn't make the playoffs, and the Steelers are depleted. That division is completely theirs for the taking, except for Baltimore. But I mean, other than that, that's theirs for the taking. So they should at least win the AFC North.
Well, the funny thing is, Baltimore doesn't have a quarterback who knows that he can throw the ball. So
yeah, exactly.
I think he's capable of throwing. I don't think that they've given him permission to throw yet.
No,
so I don't really know what's happening there. But and that kind of goes back to the Odell thing. Like people getting excited about him catching passes, and he caught that one. You said he threw it behind him. If you're playing Baltimore signed Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
If Earl Thomas is his normal Earl Thomas self, non-injury Earl Thomas, and you throw a pass behind him, that's
cookies.
That's a pick six. He's going to the house. And so that's just one thing to think about. A lot of people in the media are kind of looking at Pittsburgh being a surprisingly good team. I'm not there. I don't think that they're going to be that good. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to have a rough year. That's my personal opinion. A lot of people disagree with me. That doesn't mean that he's going to have a bad year.
Well, how do you think James Conner is going to do?
I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year. He shocked a lot of people. He's not going to shock anyone this year. I like him, and I love that he's a cancer survivor and all that stuff. That's all great. But when it comes down to it, he shocked a lot of people last year. Juju Smith-Schuster kind of had his coming out party last year. He was the benefit of Antonio Brown drawing double teams, and he was able to exploit that. He's a stud in his own right. But we're going to see kind of what he ends up being this year. And so I think that division is probably one of the more interesting divisions in football. Notice I didn't mention the Cincinnati Bengals because I forgot that they were a team.
The funny thing is I think even Andy Dalton forgot they were a team.
Yeah. That's who the Seahawks play week 1, by the way. We play the Bengals. So we pretty much have a bye week 1.
That's like playing an FCS team.
Oh,
sorry. Did that ruffle the one Cincinnati fan in America right now? Like, come on. There are even some even Gio's like, hey, look, if anyone wants me,
I'm here.
I'll be your third down back. Just give me a call.
Yeah. So my next question is, I kind of going through some NFL news today, and I see that Duke Johnson is continuing to ask for his trade. He reported to camp. He's doing all the right things, and they straight up asked him. He's like, no, I want to be traded. He's like, I'm here doing the right thing, but I don't want to be here. I don't know if he feels like he's a every down back, but he had his opportunity to be an every down back when Cleveland was bad, and he never capitalized on it. So I guess my question is, why the heck would you not want to play with Baker Mayfield?
Well, I think the thing for him, and let me say this first, Duke Johnson is a phenomenal back. He's not a, kind of, let's plug him in type person. Like, he can still be your number one back. I just think when you add Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb into the mix, he's getting kind of lost because Nick Chubb had such a great year last year as a rookie. And then you put Kareem Hunt halfway through the season, there's not a whole lot of places for him. I mean, he had a good season last year, but only because he was really just a third down back. I mean, Nick Chubb was the primary back. As soon as Baker came in, they were like, let's just do it all now. And so now, we're just going to have our rookies take us the rest of the way. And so I did like that he's been very mature about the whole situation. I think he said something like, I don't want to be a disgruntled employee or something like that. Like, I love that he is still a man about his business and about working. And I think that's a sign of John Dorsey too. He's not a, he's not a very, oh, well, it's okay, let me pat you on the butt type of GM. Like, he's a guy, he wants men in that locker room. And so I think that culture change has started with John Dorsey, and the Haslams finally moving out of the way and letting him take over. I think he will get traded before the season. And I think it will come with a defensive player attached to it.
Yeah, that'd
for
be nice.
us.
Yeah, that would be definitely be nice for Cleveland. I don't think the offense is anything to worry about. I was reading online today that Pro Football Focus had the Browns' offensive line, consistently in their top 5 for their performance. And so that's kind of like the anchor of the offense, like outside of Russell Wilson 1 year having the worst offensive line in football and then leading the entire league in touchdowns.
Right.
His ridiculous year that he had. He, outside of that, you're not really going to be successful with a bad offensive line. So, if your offensive line is bad, then your offense most likely is going to be bad because your quarterback's going to be rushing everything or running for his life or any of those types of things. So, dude, I have no idea what they're going to do with Duke Johnson, but I do like what you're saying about how he doesn't want to be a disgruntled employee, because that's important, because nowadays every NFL player seems to be disgruntled. They don't know. They say that they want to separate the personal side and the business side of it, but a lot of them don't really know how. And so I think that that's one thing that these young players need to get to. They need to get to the point where they say, "Oh, this guy's trying to attack me." I think players feel that way about head coaches and GMs all the time, and it's not that. It's just a business.
Right.
And I'm sure there are some head coaches who are just kind of dumb and don't handle things the way they should, but for the most part, I feel like GMs approach it from the standpoint of like how a CEO would think or would operate. So just seeing that there's a player out there who is that open about, hey, I don't want to be disgruntled, I don't want to be a distraction, I don't want to be any of that stuff. I think that's important. So
Well, did you see what Baker said about that whole situation?
What did he say?
Well, and people are getting up in arms about this. I guess they just want Baker just to, shut up and play. Like he's, well, that's a different podcast too. So, yeah. But I'm gonna read it. He said, because they asked him, do you think it's awkward, this whole Duke thing? And he's like, it's not awkward, it's self-inflicted. He's like, it's not awkward for anyone else in this building. He's got a job to do. He said he's professional. I just hope he does his job. He's like, I get it. Duke's been here for years. I respect that. But it's not what you're doing right now and what you're going to do. The past is the past. You're either on this train or you're not. That's a John Dorsey thing. And I think we've gotten in the mindset, I'm not saying who, but a team in Dallas, that, oh, what you've done for me 40 years ago, okay, well, that's okay. I'm just going to cradle you in. And it's like, no, I get it. You've been here. That's awesome. But we got a new thing going now, and you're either going to join that system or we're going to find someone else for you to go. And I think the reason that we're going to find someone else for you to go is because you're not a distraction. You are a quality guy. If you want a quality guy, I would be like, yeah, get out of here. Like, you're not part of what we're doing. Get out of here. I think that's why Pete Carroll just changed everything around for y'all. They're like, look, I'm doing it this way. We're moving forward. If you don't want to do it.
Right. So I think the reason they're probably giving Baker Mayfield some flack about that is because they don't want Baker Mayfield to be what Russell Wilson is with the Seahawks, or what Tony Romo and Jason Witten were with the Cowboys, which is where other players perceive them as being part of management, because they're so tight with owners or head coaches or GMs or any of that stuff. And I kind of come from that angle also, where I say I don't want my quarterback commenting on my running back's situation with the team or receiver situation with the team, mostly because it's not any of his business, and so I wouldn't want him commenting on it publicly. And so like and that has like very little to do with Baker. I mean, he's going into his second year, so I'm not really going to blame him. I would more so blame the media. Like, why are you asking questions like that to kind of try and put some strife between Duke Johnson and Baker Mayfield? And so,
Oh, it's bait for sure. I mean,
yeah,
they see that things are going up. You know, they got a whole new squad. They're about to start, you know, getting things going the right direction. And oh, but here's some bait, Duke Johnson. Hey, Baker, what do you think? And they know Baker doesn't know. Baker's not going to tame his tongue. And I think that's what's so great about him as a leader is that he's going to tell you, he's going to call you out, but not in like, hey, I'm calling you out because, you know, you suck. Like, I'm calling you out because I want you to get, like, know you're doing something wrong. Let's move on from it and let's grow. And I think that's every coach that he's had, they've done it. They did that at Lake Travis. They did that. Even Cliff, like the whole with the whole Davis Webb thing. Like, he was like, hey, look, I know you're injured, but Davis is in there right now. He's doing well. Like, you know, you just got to kind of wait your turn and get back in there. And now, you know, it sucks for him because he tossed away a Heisman Trophy winner. But I mean, I don't see anything wrong with Baker was doing that. If for me, if I'm a player and I'm a wide receiver and I see that my quarterback, who is supposed to be my leader, is stepping up and he's answering these questions, like, I'm about that. I don't want a passive quarterback. Like, I want a leader, and a leader is someone that when he walks into the room, you're like, okay, that guy's about to say something. I need to listen. And if he was the timid Baker, I don't think he would have that edge. I don't think he would be Baker.
right, right. I think you're right on with that. Okay, so well, let's transition into in. I got a couple more things before we shut it down here, but let's talk about Kyler Murray. You know, a lot of people knew kind of that he was going to Arizona over, you know, number one overall. There's projected, and a lot of people, oh well, maybe they'll go Joey Bosa or something like that. But I stuck kind of true to my word the whole time, which is like, man, I just really nothing else makes any more sense than that, you know. And
Right.
so, you know, I knew that they were going to go there, and so I, being a Seahawks fan, the Arizona Cardinals being a in division rival, what were the I think the Cardinals last year were 4-12 or something like that, and I think Kyler Murray has plenty of chance and opportunity to be successful in the NFL. I do not think that's coming this year. I think, you know,
Yeah.
if they were 4-12 last year, I think they at best they go 6-10 this year.
Oh, wow. 6-10.
Yeah, I mean I have zero faith in Cliff Kingsbury.
Okay.
He and I think that's really where it is. And it has very little to do with Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury was fired from Texas Tech. And so
He's the only guy I know that is so bad at your job that I'm going to give you a promotion.
yeah, and I think it's because he's good looking. If he wasn't good looking, then
But I don't even see that. Like,
well, I mean, I don't see it, but I understand why people find him good looking.
he looks like he was Forrest Gump's best friend. Like, I just don't see it.
Like
He just looks
he
like
looks like Bubba Gump, or
yeah, he looks like a vanilla Gump.
oh,
That's what I'm gonna call him.
that's kind of gross. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not very high on them. I know they kind of rebuilt their roster a little bit. The Cardinals did. They drafted some pretty good receivers, and they look kind of stacked ish. But the problem is, in the NFL, if you do not have depth, you are essentially dead, because depth is what helps create longevity. And as players get injured or players don't perform well, you could count on your depth. That roster is basically like some of the best players they had. I think they had Buda Baker. I don't know if he's on another team now. I think he is. I know Deion Buchanan, who's from Washington State. They drafted him high a few years ago, and he walked and he went to another team.
Don't forget your guy Brett Hundley. Hundley. You can't forget that guy. You know.
First of all, that was never my guy. When he was at UCLA, I even said he was trash at UCLA. I thought he was hot trash, steaming. He was double figures. That's the best way to explain it. Dumpster juice. And so
Oh man,
I never liked him. And then I was like, when the Seahawks traded, what did they trade? A 7th-round pick to the Packers or
it
something
was
for him?
ridiculous.
I was like, why would we pay for garbage? Like,
I don't
we
get it, dude.
well, can't we sign a McCown brother, or like, isn't Brett Favre coming out of retirement or something? Can't we sign somebody like that? Like, it's been proven that even if Russell Wilson gets hurt, Ndamukong Suh stomped on Russell Wilson's ankle a couple years ago. Russell Wilson still didn't come out of the game. He's like,
Well,
screw
that's
you
because
guys.
Russell Wilson he's a beast.
Correct.
That dude signed for $65 million, and then was just such a boss and was like, "Hey, we doing this. Go back to sleep." Like, who tells an entire city to go back to sleep? Like, that's just like he could run for mayor and they'd probably win.
Probably he would have just an overwhelming vote. Mostly, you don't know this, but the city council / government in Seattle is insanely broken and played a huge part in why the Seattle Supersonics left the city of Seattle in 2008. But that is
Oh,
a totally different topic that I'm so fired up about. Do not get me going down that road. I will lose my mind, I swear.
oh man.
Anyway, so let's move on. So I'll let you kind of give your take on Kyler Murray there, and then we'll go on to our next topic.
You know, man. So Kyler in college, phenomenal. I thought he was great. Obviously, Heisman Trophy winner. 5'10". I'm 5'10", so he's taller than I am, and I have a picture both of us together. And he's taller than I am. So
man crush alert.
It's not man crush. It's just when you know people,
you
like, get the hookup.
Man crush. I just absolutely love him.
No, and people even tell you, like, I like Kyler. I think he's phenomenal. But like, we're doing man crushes, like it's Baker Reagan Mayfield. Okay, like that's just I'm fine with saying that.
Word.
Kind of. But yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna do well, personal stat wise. I think the team is gonna suffer, and I think that's just a lack of leadership. If Cliff were to come in and be the OC, oh man, like, watch out. I just don't think when you have people like Jalen Ramsey who can run a little bit slower than Kyler, it's all you need is a finger to trip him up. I mean, that's just, or it takes one hit from Clay, who now is with the Rams, and so now he's going to see him, and it's I think Kyler's great. I think stat-wise is going to be great. He's going to get a whole lot of rushing yards, but I think Cliff is going to run him into the ground, and it's not going to be a good look for him. I am excited for December 15th, though, when Heisman versus Heisman. I'm excited for that one.
That'll be sweet.
So.
Okay, well, we kind of talked about quarterbacks and stuff like that earlier, and it's just something that I wanted to touch on. You know who Jay Glazer is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Jay Glazer was asked if he had all the power in the NFL and he was a GM of a team and he could pick any quarterback to rebuild his franchise with, like, who would he pick? And then he listed his top 5. And so he was like, well, obviously I would have to go like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and he, started naming like the normal guys. And then he left Russell Wilson off of his list and put Baker Mayfield on his list. And
did he really?
Yes, he did. And then let me say another thing.
So you were out of it at that point, anyways.
No. So a couple of weeks ago, Kurt Warner was on NFL Network, and he was making his list of top 10 quarterbacks, right? So they have that big touchscreen board thing that they use, and so you had your 5 spots on the right, and then on the left you had 15 quarterbacks that you could choose from.
Right.
And so what they have to do is they have to touch one of the quarterbacks on the left to activate that player's name and then drag them over into the spot, right? Mm-hmm. So he's doing that. Russell Wilson was not even on the board for top 15.
Huh. And this was Jay Glazer?
No. This was Kurt Warner. And so the reason I brought Jay Glazer up is because that happened today. And so the Kurt Warner thing happened a couple weeks ago. And so my question is, and don't say this to appease me in any way, shape, or form, where do you put your quarterback's top 5? And I just want to know your honest opinion. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks?
Top 5 quarterbacks, I would say one is going to be TB12, and for that, it's not to Thanos rings or anything like that. It's because this guy literally has had a mediocre line for the last 15 years and has 6 rings. Right. And it's just with no, oh my gosh, weapons. Like he had a 80-year-old Randy Moss. Like it's not like he's just rolling in the toys like Baker is. So I would say he would be number 1. 2, I'm actually going to say Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is someone that is consistently going to give you, close to 5K a year in yards, low interceptions, leadership, everything, and he has a ring. I'd put him 2. And not to appease you, I would even I'd put Aaron Rodgers in there solely because his game is kind of a mixture of the both of them. He has an arm, but he also is mobile enough to get out of certain situations that Tom can't, like Drew can. So I would say that is 3. 4 would be Russell. I mean, I would put him just solely because he's a guy that is going to be consistent with you. If you're going to stack the box, that's fine. He's going to roll out and he's going to burn you with his legs. He's a guy that can adapt to any game. And he's not necessarily a field general that I would say a Tom is, but I think he's a guy where you follow him when he's on the field as far as I need to block for him. So, and then 5, I mean, obviously I would put Dak Prescott. Just kidding.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. Dak's trash.
I almost had a stroke on the spot.
No, I mean, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, he's gonna say Baker." I'm not gonna say Baker. I don't think Baker's anywhere near that yet. I will say I do like Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck is a guy. I feel like Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, I hate that so much.
I like Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck is I don't know. He's just it's not that he has a Kanye West mouth or anything like that. I just think he is a guy that literally is. He can sling it, dude, and he's just a baller. And so, I mean, he should not have had the season he had last year after his shoulder. Like he just shouldn't have had that. And so I think the Colts could even be back in the playoffs and go deep this year even. You heard it here first on Flex Network.
Yeah. That is not a unpopular take by any means. I think that the Colts were pretty good last year, so that's not
I just wanted to say it first because I haven't heard anyone say it yet. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, dude, I come from a place where Russell Wilson is definitely top 5. If you want to put him 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I don't care. He's top 5. And I don't really think there's
well, it shows. I mean,
it's consistency is everything.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up the stats while you were saying it, but I just went to the wrong website on accident. But his touchdown to interception ratio is like, it's off the charts. It's like 38-7 or something.
Oh
wow. And so like he just doesn't turn the ball over. And so like last year you'd say, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal because they were the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL last year. So he threw the ball the least amount of times out of any quarterback.
Like, okay. Yeah, he has 100.3 passer rating.
So what does that tell you? That tells you that he's extremely efficient when he does throw the ball. That tells you that he takes care of the ball and doesn't turn it over because you don't get triple digits by throwing interceptions.
True.
Ask Nathaniel Peterman from Buffalo.
That poor guy is
I don't know if his
just
name is Nathaniel, but it made it sound extra white when I said it, so I
he's
wanted
like,
to say it that way.
simmer down now, Cody. Simmer
Yeah.
down now.
So, yeah, that was totally and it's just funny. I mentioned it earlier. He played behind the worst offensive line in the NFL a
Oh, they were
couple years
trash.
ago and led the NFL in touchdown passes. Like, who does that? You're telling
It's
me he beats out Aaron Rodgers, who was playing that year, who was behind a somewhat decent offensive line and who seems to have all the time in the world whenever he drops back.
literally.
It's insane. They draft nothing but big fat white guys from Wisconsin who know how to pass block. It's crazy.
That's all they do.
That David Bakhtiari guy is out of this world. Before that, they had TJ Lang. And like they just had great fat white guys who know how to pass block. And so whatever. But so I just want to say one thing. Blasphemy on the part of Kurt Warner
Absolutely.
and Jay Glazer. They both have committed treason and deserve to be put in prison. It is insane.
I will say I'm a fan of Jay Glazer just because he does ballers and he always has a good take, but that one is
No,
is a
I
little
do like Jay
suspect.
Glazer. I like Jay Glazer. He just he just put his foot in his mouth in a stupid way. But the last one of the last things is I know you don't like him, but Colin Cowherd kind of has the best take on ranking quarterbacks, which is he's like, hey, let's not do this. This guy's best overall. This guy's second best overall. He kind of proposes the idea of like, let's put them into tiers. So top tier being this quarterback can be the best player on the field on any given Sunday. And so he puts essentially between 6 and 8 guys on that list. And that's where you have your Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. You put Ben Roethlisberger in there. You put I don't know who else you would put in there. You put who am I missing?
See, he ranks where he's like 20 quarterbacks or something like that. Is that kind of where
No,
he's at, or
so tier 1 he puts between 6 and 8 guys. And then tier 2 he puts guys like he'll put Matt Ryan in there. He puts Baker Mayfield in there because Baker's only played 1 year. He puts Cam Newton in there. Guys who are capable of winning you the game but don't always do it.
you say his top 5 is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz, and Russell Wilson.
That's what Colin put.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't put Carson Wentz there because he really only had 1 good year and then he's had 2 injured years. So, and his one good year, the Eagles came to Seattle and lost. So
yeah.
that's all you need to know about that. So how about that?
That's no big deal.
But anyway,
he's got Jared Goff at 13,
which is insanely disrespectful to anyone.
And Stafford. Oh my goodness, I don't think he's ever watched football.
Well, I would not put Goff that high. If you saw Goff in the Super Bowl, you watched him absolutely shrivel up and disappear.
Well, did he do that, or was that just a phenomenal defensive scheme?
It was both. Because McVay has treated Goff in such a way that he can look at him and do different hand motions or call things from the sideline to audible for him, which doesn't work long term in the NFL because you need to learn the playbook. You need to learn to read defenses. You need to learn to read a defense while a play's happening, as well as read a defense at the line of scrimmage, being that field general that you talked about earlier.
Right.
A lot of quarterbacks struggle with that early on. Russell Wilson kind of struggled with that early on. His first 2 years, he was still good, but he just wasn't. I was like, man, we really we drafted this guy, and he's kind of struggling this rookie season and stuff. But the defense was legit, so it kind of bailed him out early on. But Goff doesn't have that necessarily. He's playing with a good defense, but he isn't. If he makes mistakes, they're going to see it. They're going to know about it. You're not going to be able to hide. Um, and so it's just been interesting. And so with that whole tier thing, your second tier has your Goffs, your Matt Ryans, your Cam Newton. I'm trying to think who else is there, but basically quarterbacks that aren't going to blow the game for you, but can win the game for you, but just don't do it consistently enough.
Right.
And then your third tier is your guys like Nate Peterman, Andy Dalton, just guys who aren't good. Guys who are liabilities, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jameis Winston's. I don't know who else you want to
Fitzmagic.
Yeah, I know, dude. I love him, but he's not doing his thing. He's not consistent. So
Yeah.
what do you what are you gonna do about it? He's not gonna go out and win the game for you. He's gonna show you
True.
that magic, but he's
He's
not
gonna
gonna win the
manage
game for
it,
you.
but he won't go out there and
Right. And
you
so
know.
some of the other quarterbacks you put on that list, anyone with the last name McCown, you would put there. I mean, I feel like there's 12 of them. Where do they keep coming from?
It's like they're like the Watts. It's like, oh crap, there's another Watt.
Except for the Watts are all legit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, TJ's a stud.
Dude,
JJ's all right.
I played Madden the other day against some guy online, and he was the Steelers. He had TJ Watt sacked me like 6 plays in a row. I'm like, does this guy have a cheat code? What's going on, dude?
Oh, he was definitely playing on pro.
Yeah, he had to have been playing. I hate that. He had to have been playing on pro.
100%.
But okay, so what do you like that structure that Colin kind of used with the tiers as opposed to just ranking them straight up 1 through 32 or what?
I think I don't, because he could have someone in tier 1 that will lose the game for you too. I don't think a tier is necessarily a way to go, because if that was the case, Nick Foles wouldn't be in a tier 1, but he can carry me to the Super Bowl. So I think a tier is not really a way to do it. I think ranking them straight up is a better way of doing it.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Okay, well, what do you say we kind of close it down here? Do you have any final thoughts about anything that you want anybody to know? Any hot takes?
Man, well, let's see. XFL is going to be awesome. Bob Stoops is going to get championships in Dallas like nobody's business.
Oh, kind of like an oxymoron, but okay.
Yeah, Oklahoma Sooners are going to win at least 2 national titles in the next 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Hot
take alert.
I think the Cleveland Browns will be one and done playoffs this year. Next year they'll go to the championship game and get robbed. And I think Dak Prescott.
You mean AFC Championship or Super Bowl?
I wasn't really prepared for the follow-up question, but I will say AFC. I think it's going to take them a little bit. I think they are a one defensive piece short of being a Super Bowl winning team. I think everything on offense looks great. They got the depth. They got all that. Even the defense even looks great. Adding Sheldon Richardson and Aluve or from New York, linebacker from New York, and then Greedy, and Denzel. I mean, I think those pieces are great, but Christian needs some help in the middle of the field, and so I think having another end helps as well. So Miles isn't having to do something. I mean, Myles Garrett's a beast. He's going to get his sacks regardless. But I think having an end on the other end, kind of like how Seattle had, they had, what was his name? I mean, they had like 3 different $18 million linemen that you're just like, okay, crap, who do we block? And so,
talking about defensive linemen,
they had Cam.
You had Michael Bennett on one end of the line who could play any defensive line position. Then you had
Cameron Hayward.
No, we never had him. We had Cliff Averill on the other end.
I'm talking about the Steelers.
You just said Seahawks.
No, I said Steelers.
Oh, geez, I'm not hearing anything right then.
I don't know. We could totally play this back, and I was wrong, but I'm just going to stand my ground and say I said Steelers.
Okay, well, Hayward.
Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had – and then Stephon Tuitt. So, I mean, they had people that you're just like, holy crap, we can't double team all of them. Right. And so I think if they can get one more defensive lineman and a linebacker, that's a wrap. So whenever Leighton Vander Esch is available, um, he can come up to Clee and get those dubs. He can come
Okay,
to the land.
So I'm interested in what you were about to say. You were about to say something about Dak Prescott, and then I cut you off. So I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean he's just trash. No, I don't think that he is gonna get the $38 million that he thinks that he's gonna get. I think he would need to go back to picking up trash on the sidelines if that's what he's thinking is gonna happen. If they're gonna pay Dak or Zeke, just look at production. I mean, the only reason why Amari Cooper was so well, it wasn't because Dak was just having a baller year. It was because the box was stacked, and so they had to stop Zeke. Even when Zeke had horrible games, he was still having good games. So that's when teams say, "I'm going to stack the box. I dare you to throw it." That's not saying, "Man, my quarterback is elite. My quarterback is $35 million," because they're daring me to throw it. That's saying I should probably be looking somewhere else for my quarterback. And my backup is Cooper Rush. No idea who he is. If Cleveland's number 2 quarterback could be Dallas's number 1, I'm not paying you $38 million.
Right. A buddy of mine from work just texted me and said you did say Seattle. So
okay, well, you know what? He's probably right. Okay.
Okay.
But for my story, still, I'm gonna say the Steelers.
Okay. Hey, so one of the things that it's not necessarily a hot take, but if you're a Cowboys fan, right, and you're looking at this Dak Prescott situation, and you're like, man, okay, well, Dak wants X amount of dollars per year, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's 25. He wants 25 million a year. Because reportedly he was offered 25 a year for 5, which is 125 for the length of the contract. I'm not sure how much of that would have been signing bonus or whatever, but he turned it down.
Which is ridiculous.
And so to me, if I were a Cowboys fan, I would say, man, Dak really should have taken that deal, because from a team standpoint, if we get Dak on this, like, let's say Dak gets as much money as Russell Wilson, right? That hurts the Cowboys astronomically, specifically because Dak Prescott is a fraction of what Russell Wilson is, or not even Russell Wilson. I'll throw that out. Dak Prescott is a fraction of what a really elite quarterback is, right?
Right.
So you would now put yourself into I don't want to say cap hell, because that's kind of like an overused term, but you put yourself financially into a weird position, because now you're paying all this money to this guy, but you're not getting the play that's worth that amount of money, right?
Right.
So when you have an elite level guy at any position, you can pay him top dollar for what that position's market is. Because you know what you're going to get on the field. Like, you're going to pay Aaron Donald whatever he wants, because what have we learned over the years with Aaron Donald? He's unblockable.
Literally.
You double team him, and even with double teams, 85% of the time, they still don't work.
Yeah.
And so you don't mind paying that money. And so, like, if you're a Cowboys fan, you can't look at this and say, oh, we're going to give him Russell Wilson money and be happy about that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's rough, because a lot of fans, I feel like, get into the conversation of saying, well, the salary cap goes up each year. Well, it does, but understand that the play of the player at his position has to be elite if you're going to pay elite money.
Right.
And that's all it comes down to, because otherwise you put yourself into a bad position. But I don't know, man. The Cowboys seem to be all in this year, so we'll see.
I mean, I grew up a Cowboy. Like, my mom was a Cowboy fan, so people are like, "Oh, he hates the Cowboys." I grew up a Cowboy. Like, the last 33 years of my life, I was a Cowboy fan. And then as soon as the Browns, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna make a jump, I'm gonna do it right now, and just that's my team from now until death. Transfer portal. You get one, And so I did that. Luckily, thankfully for me, because I like to talk a lot of trash, it's paid off. with Baker, but I kind of feel like it's like the Cowboys are, the WWE, and I just, made the jump to AEW. And so I'm just all in Cleveland right now.
Oh, all in. Okay.
That segue. And so I'm not a Cowboy hater. Obviously living in Fort Worth, I want the Cowboys to do well just because that's for the morale of everyone around us,
Keep the depression at
Yeah.
a low.
Exactly. I'm not trying to have anyone on watch or anything. I just want Cleveland to win one more game more than Cowboys do.
Yeah, or beat them head to head, which
2020.
As a Seahawks fan, we did not do in the playoffs.
Yikes.
Yeah, I know.
Yikes.
We beat them in the regular season and then later.
Every squirrel gets a nut, man. Every squirrel gets a nut.
Yeah, for real. Okay, well, that is about it for us tonight. So I just want to say, quick reminder: if you are watching this for the first time, if you don't follow us on social media, you can follow Flex Network on Facebook. You can follow Flex Network on Instagram, and you could subscribe to our iTunes. We podcast every episode that we do here. We upload there. We got the Sooners in the background, or what?
All day, baby.
So we got Spotify, we're on iTunes, and so just if you do subscribe, please give us a rating there. That'd be awesome. Follow Jay on all of his social medias that he mentioned earlier.
Kason Creative Media, Kason Creative on all platforms.
All righty, well that'll do it, guys. Until next time, see you later.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Later.